Hello everybody, this is Rudolph. Thanks for watching my channel. Today I'll be talking about Maurice Ravel's Pavane, and I will be focusing only on fingerings, redistribution the notes between the hands, and just making the piece a little bit easier to play. Here's measure 4. And right away on the third note, your left hand and the right hand is playing the same middle C, so there's no point to play it in your right hand. Let's just do it in the left hand. And in measure 5, it's the same thing. The third note, your left hand plays a B and the right hand has a B, so we're not gonna do it in the right hand. One hand is plenty. Now in measure 6, the first note, the right hand is written as an octave. I prefer to play that low F sharp in the left hand. It allows you to connect the right hand melody much better from measure 5 to 6 and just makes sound better overall. So here's measure 5 and 6. And at the very end of measure 6, the last chord, I redistributed a little bit as well. The lowest note of the right hand chord, this is the last chord of the measure 6. That F sharp, which is written for right hand, I would play in my left hand. The arpeggio in measure 7. I would play the bottom two notes, the C and the B, in my left hand and everything else in the right hand like this. Also, you have to think about how to do the diminuendo on the arpeggio, but make sure that the B in the right hand sustains through the whole half of the next measure. So what I do, I play all this loud, and then you disappear on the E. And left hand A needs to be soft. And then that creates that illusion of a diminuendo, but at the same time you're able to sustain the half note. Here is measure 18, and I'm redistributing the third chord. So this is your first chord in measure 18. This is your second one. Now the third chord, instead of crossing your fingers, I'm just playing like this. It makes it easier to play, of course, but also it gives you better control over sound. And the same in measure 19. The last chord, I would not be crossing. There's really no reason to do it for sound purposes, and it just gives you better control over the melody. Now I'll play it as original, and let's see if we can hear any difference. I can't tell the difference, but if you can, then by all means you gotta play the way it's written. Now let's jump to measure 24. And I wanted to talk about the last 3 chords in the right hand. So you have to play everything, including the stems down. Just don't forget to roll the last chord. That will give you a better, even if you have really big hands, I would still roll it. Now the third chord in measure 25, again, I would redistribute. So instead of playing this, I'm swapping these two notes around. So my right hand plays the A and the left hand plays the F sharp. So measure 25 looks like this. And measure 26, the second chord. Again, we're swapping these around. What this allows us to do is to connect the melody in the right hand much better. The next spot I wanted to talk about was In measure 27, the last three chords in the right hand. And I just wanted to show my fingerings. The first chord, I would play G and an F with the thumb in the right hand. But then right away on that B flat, switch to a 3 so that you can add the F sharp, G sharp to it. And then your 2 will slide to the A like that. So very slow motion. Switch to the 3. That gives you a better way to control sound. If you play it like this, that's really big stretch here. And I have pretty large hand, but even that is fairly uncomfortable for me. So switch. Measure 28, Ravel wrote for the left hand the following chord. And that happens to cross over the right hand notes. So what I would do, I would add that one right hand note into my left hand chord like this. And the same happens in measure 29. It also allows you to control the sound in the right hand much better. Because we do really care about hearing this beautiful melody. In measure 30, Ravel wrote for the left hand this. And that C happens to be also in the right hand. So I would not play that with the left hand at all. My left hand would just play this. And then the last chord, again, I would be switching notes between the hands. So left hand would play E, G, A, and also add a G at the very end of the measure. So let me play this slow motion with both hands. And it looks like this. Now I'm swapping the notes and adding the left hand G. That gives a better control over the sound, and it just makes it, I think, much easier. So let's do that again. Measure 30, slow motion. And in measure 31, it's a similar idea. We're swapping some notes between hands. For the second chord, my left hand will also play the right hand low G. And for the last chord, the same thing. I'm playing the right hand G in my left hand. In measure 32, I'm doing the same thing. The second chord, I'm playing the low F sharp from right hand in the left hand. And the last chord in measure 32, the same thing. And in measure 33, the second chord, I'm adding the right hand D in the left hand. So let me play just the left hand for measure 30 through 33. The last chord in measure 33. Again, I'm helping out my right hand with adding an extra note in the left hand. These are the last 4 chords of measure 33. So I'm playing the low F sharp in the left hand. let's talk about measure 30 for the last arpeggio. There's no really tricks to it. The left hand plays the low B and the right hand, just like it's written. Just make sure that you play that pinky quite loud. And then you disappear. So loud, and then disappear. Because if you try to diminuendo on the arpeggio like it says, then we're going to lose the melody. And that you need to sustain the whole measure, or half of the measure 35. So here it is. And then you can get as soft as you want. In measure 35, after the tie note in the right hand, again, I'm redistributing that chord. So that's the third chord from the end of measure 35. The A, which is written in the right hand, I'm playing with my left hand. And the last chord in the right hand, I'm keeping all the notes as it is, but I'm playing the C and a B with my thumb together like this instead of the. This is really hard to reach. This is easy. So here are the last 3 chords of measure 35. In measure 37, I like to play the low E of the right hand in my left hand part. I think it just makes it a little bit easier. And then after the E, the next chord where you have D octaves in both hands, in my left hand I'm playing C and D with my thumb. And in measure 38, when we have these really big chords, I'm playing the lowest note of the right hand in my left hand part. Now, I can reach these chords, but even if you can't, I think it gives you better control over the melody in the top notes in the right hand. Let's now jump to measure 41. Measure 41, I will provide another PDF file because I am redistributing actually quite a bit of notes. I'm going to play it here slowly, and then I will also show you the visual so it's a little bit easier to understand. And I'm talking about the second half of measure 41 when your hands are like crisscrossing each other. So a lot of right hand chord notes I will be playing in the left hand. So the last 4 notes in measure 41, my right hand plays this. So it's a very easy line, and my left hand plays this. I will start after the triplet from the second beat in 41, just the left hand. So again, not a difficult line, but it makes it much easier to play it and much better to control the sound. Next measure, again, my left hand will take the 2 bottom notes from the right hand. So my left hand will play this, measure 42. And for the last 3 chords of measure 42, left hand will help out right hand a little bit like this. So these are the last 3 chords of measure 42. Notice I am crossing here my fingers in case if you want to show that melody in the left hand, the D, C, that allows you to do that. So here's measure 42 with both hands slowly. Right hand at the first chord, right hand plays D and F, and left hand plays G, A, and C like this. measure 45, the second half, where your right hand has a lot of chords and left hand just one note melody. So we're gonna help out our right hand as much as we can. So here are the last 4 chords of measure 45, and I'll play left hand by itself first. And here's your right hand. And here are both hands. The next measure 46, the last 3 chords, again, I'm gonna help out the right hand just a tiny bit. So I'm adding just one note in the left hand. And in measure 47, this chord, the A, B flat, D, A, is really hard to play in the right hand like that. Super hard, and also it affects your sound. So what I do, I'm covering with my thumb the A and the B flat. And that allows you also to smooth the sound. This is really hard, really tense on your hand. This is actually quite easy. Let's jump to measure 55. I play in the left hand only the first 2 notes of that arpeggio, and then my right hand plays 2 on a G, B flat, and then you cross and do 1, 2, 5. It makes it easier for me, and also it gives me a little extra time for the left hand jump. So when my left hand jumps, by the time my right hand is on this G, my left hand is already in place. Next chord, again, I'm helping out right hand a little bit. Let's jump to measure 60. And here again, my left hand will be helping out right hand. And whenever we have these chords in the upper register in the left hand, I'm just adding that right hand note within the chord. So these were measures 60 and 61. That makes right hand much more manageable. Now measure 61, that first note, the low B, if you're really struggling with that B, I would say don't play it. Because if that's the only note which really gives you a hard time in the next 5 measures and it slows you down, there are a couple of ways to do it. One, you can play it and take your time, but then you have to phrase it appropriately. Then you have to take a little extra time and make something special out of this chord. In this case, that was a diminuendo. Even though I can reach this, if I want to keep the flow of the melody and not take any extra time before measure 61, I would really consider taking that note out. It's just really hard to do. I can do it, but it makes very uncomfortable. Now, let's listen to it. I'll play twice. Close your eyes. Once I'll play without the low B, once I'll play with it. Now, honestly, could you tell the difference? The second time I was playing the low B, the first time I was not. I would have to sit probably with a score and really listen to that particular note to notice that one time it was not played. Let's jump now to measure 62, 63, and 64. So it's the same idea. When my left hand is jumping up to those chords, I'm adding the right hand notes within those chords. So measure 62 and 63 will look like this. probably noticed in measure 63, after the second chord, I added another note in the left hand. That A. That comes from the right hand, lower A. And that helps me control the melody line better in my right hand. And I will do the same thing in measure 64. After the second chord, I'm adding a G. And that allows me to have much better sound in the right hand. I'll play from measure 63. Also, I wanted to share my fingerings in the right hand, measure 63, 64. So this is the omitted G, omitted A, and then I'm crossing over to the F sharp. And the same in the 64. And I'm crossing over to the low E. I find it easier than trying to stretch and be jumping with your thumb. Crossing over in this instance is easier. Let's do the last three chords of measure 67. And you have this chord. And this is how it's written originally. So I'm just moving this A to my left hand. And then I can use right hand 3 on an A and connect easily to the next melody note, the D. And in the last chord, notice again I'm using a thumb on 2 notes. Measure 71. So Mr. Ravel wrote it like this: left hand, right hand, and then you cross over with the left hand. For me, it is easier to do it exactly opposite. So you start with the left hand, then the right hand 3 notes, then the left hand, and the half notes in the right hand, like that. It gives me better control over sound, and it feels more natural. And this is all I have for you today. Hopefully you like this video and it helps you learn this piece better and quicker. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Until next time.